أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإذ استسقى موسى لقومه فقلنا اضرب بعصاك الحجر فانفجرت منه 12 عينا قد علم كل أناس مشربهم كلوا واشربوا من رزق الله ولا تعثوا في الأرض مفسدين. وإذ قلتم يا موسى لن نصبر على طعام واحد فادع لنا ربك يخرج لنا مما تنبت الأرض من بقلها وقثائها وفومها وعدسها وبصلها. قال أتستبدلون الذي هو أدنى بالذي هو خير اهبطوا مصرا فإن لكم ما سألتم وضربت عليهم الذلة والمسكنة وباءوا بغضب من الله ذلك بأنهم كانوا يكفرون بآيات الله ويقتلون النبيين بغير الحق ذلك بما عصوا وكانوا يعتدون. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون وإذ أخذنا ميثاقكم ورفعنا فوقكم الطور خذوا ما آتيناكم بقوة واذكروا ما فيه لعلكم تتقون ثم توليتم من بعد ذلك فلولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته لكنتم من الخاسرين ولقد علمتم الذين اعتدوا منكم في السبت فقلنا لهم كونوا قردة خاسئين فجعلناها نكالا لما بين يديها وما خلفها وموعظة للمتقين وإذ قال موسى لقومه إن الله يأمركم أن تذبحوا بقرة قالوا أتتخذنا هزوا قال أعوذ بالله أن أكون من الجاهلين قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا فارض ولا بكر عوان بين ذلك فافعلوا ما تؤمرون قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما لونها قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة صفراء فاقع لونها تسر الناظرين قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي إن البقرة شابه علينا وإنا إن شاء الله لمهتدون قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا ذلول تثير الأرض ولا تسقي الحرث مسلمة لا شية فيها قالوا الآن جئت بالحق فذبحوها وما كادوا يفعلون صدق الله العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين له النعمة وله الفضل وله الثناء الحسن صلوات الله البر الرحيم والملائكة المقربين على سيدنا محمد الصادق الوعد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت يا حي يا قيوم تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك الكريم. Have good intentions. Make sure you're sitting in this session for the sake of Allah only. Allah Ta'ala is the only one who grants the reward. Before we start, insha'Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, if anyone has any question, you can take a minute or two to answer some quick questions, insha'Allah, then we'll continue going over the immediate knowledge, insha'Allah. Yes, what's your question? He said, I heard somewhere that it is best to put on perfume oils for the sake of smelling better for the person next to you. But what if this oil, this sort of aroma, makes you sleepy? In the case of a woman, it's better for her not to go outside with perfume on. It's disliked for the woman to go outside with perfume on. So, if it makes you sleepy, don't wear it if you're a woman. If you're a guy, wear a different one. Makruh, yes. Dislike. Question, what is the judgment of writing OMG or SAW or SWT? I don't know that any of that is haram. Question, there was a case in the Mukhtasar about saying the Shahada out of habit, but instead of saying that, Sheikh Samir said as a dhikr. Can you please clarify this case and mention its dangers? If a person committed blasphemy without knowing, and therefore he never cleared himself of this blasphemy, because you can't clear yourself of blasphemy without knowing that you fell into blasphemy. Then later the person knew that he could. Then later the person knew that the thing he fell into was blasphemy. Then later the person knew that it was blasphemy. Not that he remembered though, but he knew it was blasphemy later. Afterwards he knew that that case is blasphemy. Had he been presented with it, he would have known it's blasphemy. But he never remembered it. So how can he forgot. He forgot he fell into it. So how can he get out of it? In this case, if a person says the Shahada out of habit means without any intention of worship, without an intention of worship, this will benefit him and he will be a Muslim. To say, if he said it out of dhikr, is a wrong expression. And for the Muslims, dhikr means a worship. Dhikr is a worship. So this expression is wrong. So let no person believe that, even if Sheikh Samir said it. Even if Sheikh Samir said it. Even if Sheikh Samir said it. Because this is wrong. And Sheikh Samir said what was correct afterwards. If someone believes that a kafir can say dhikr and is valid, that's blasphemy. So if anyone has an old recording of any sheikh, and Sheikh Abdullah didn't say that, If he has a recording of any sheikh saying that, one, I'm sure it's old and it has been corrected. So let no person take by that expression. Let no person say that. Let no person repeat that. Let the person say, if he said it out of habit. If he said it out of habit, not out of dhikr. Question, what is the judgment of the one who says holy blank? Is this blasphemy? If when the person says holy whatever, if the person says holy whatever, and he thinks that means an expression of bewilderment and astonishment. So to him it's like saying, wow! That's what it means to him. That's not blasphemy. I said, I do not know, Yusuf, I said, I do not know about any of that being haram. Question, if a person ate pork before they were pubescent, and then they removed the najis later on, when they got older, would all their prayers then not be valid? Before they remove the najis. According to Ash-Shafi'i, it's not valid. Question, what does it mean to say the shahada out of habit? It means saying it out of habit is like it runs off the person's tongue without him thinking, for example. Like he dropped the glass and it broke, he said, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, without an intention of dhikr. Without an intention of dhikr. So the right thing is to say opposite of what was said before, not say it out of dhikr. Not saying it was correct is that he didn't say it out of dhikr. Then he will benefit from that and he will be a Muslim. Question, okay, so it might not be his habit and he might not say it out of dhikr. Right. Question, but if we want to clarify the habit mas'ala to someone, can we say, if a kafir said it with the intention of worship, say it the way I said it. That's correct. Go ahead, ask your question. So if someone said kufr, then he forgets what he said, but he learned the judgment. The next time he says the shahada out of habit, it will benefit him. If he says it out of habit, and he never remembered it afterwards, he never remembered the blasphemy afterwards, and then he said the shahada out of habit, then it will benefit. Question, were you able to find a definition of the difference between cause and reason? Yeah, don't worry about that for now. That's it's detailed. Insha'Allah ta'ala, it will come. Be patient, insha'Allah, you'll get it. It will come in its place, inshallah. Who is Imran? There's more than one Imran. That one also will come back to it another time, inshallah. What if he remembered and he said it out of habit? If he remembered the blasphemy he did, he needs to say the shahada. He doesn't remember the blasphemy he did and just say a kafir and just not say the shahada. If he remembered that he did blasphemy, he needs to say the shahada. Question. So for the case you just mentioned about saying the shahada out of dhikr, what if someone believes this to be true case without thinking, believing that the kafir will be rewarded for making dhikr because he knows that the kafir does not give reward? What kufr? Because he knows that the kafir cannot have valid worship, doesn't he? Question. Can someone say, may God forgive a kafir? If someone says, may God forgive a kafir, and he means by that, while he's a kafir, that's blasphemy. If he means by that, may God make him become a Muslim, it's not blasphemy. Question. If a person doesn't know if he does or doesn't have prayers to make up, what is the judgment? The one who is not sure of... This is as much as I can say to answer your question. The one who does not know how many prayers he needs to make up, he makes up as many prayers as he's sure of, and it's better to do more. I can't tell you more than that. Question, what is the judgment concerning the hair removal and hair dye for men? It's not haram to remove your hair. It's not permissible to dye the hair, the gray hair black, except for jihad. And it's not permissible for a Muslim, male or female, to dye the hair with many colors. Because that's the habit of the kuffar and the sinners. And as for a woman dyeing her hair a different color, yellow for example or something like that, if she's married and her husband accepts, then she can. Question, can a woman who wears hijab straighten their hair? Sure, why not? No, it's not haram for the man with gray hair to put henna in his... I don't know about the head. So say like I'm saying to you now, Yani. If I tell you an answer and then you'll find a different way to... Here, Yani, what did I say? If she's married and her husband accepts, then she can. Forget everything else. Yani, if she's married and her husband accepts, then she can. If there's another way she can, then there's no need for me to say it this way only. Alright? It means if she's not married, she cannot. If she's married, also she cannot, unless her husband accepts. Yes, henna is dye. I never learned about this. She could take it from her dad. The single woman doesn't do that. The married woman can do it with the permission of her husband. Can you please repeat the fifth prohibition for the woman on her menses and the first reason for tayammum? قال فصل أسباب التيمم أي الأمور التي تبيحه ثلاثة فقط ولو شراء بشعر المثل لسفر أو غيره. The first reason why one can make tayammum is because of not having water. Because of not having water, even if the reason why he didn't have water is because it costs more than the market price. لسفر أو غيره, let me check what does that mean. لسفر أو غيره. The fifth prohibition for a woman on her menses. Nine things forbidden for a woman on her menses: prayer, circling the Kaaba, carrying the Mus'haf and touching it, reciting the Quran, fasting, entering the masjid and dwelling in it, entering the masjid and dwelling in it, to go inside the masjid and stay inside of it, even if that's going back and forth inside of it without being still. And also, if it's not permissible for her to go through the masjid in one door and out the other door without stopping if she fears staining the masjid. Okay. Because I don't have them numbered here, so I'm not sure which one. Okay. For her to recite the Quran with an audible voice, even if the only one who could hear it was her, had there been nothing to had there been nothing that prevents her from hearing herself. Meaning, if that menstruating woman recited the Quran with a voice which is audible for her, without anything that stops her from hearing herself, such as, for example, construction vehicles or howling wind, then she cannot do that. That's haram. What this means is stuff that stops her from hearing herself was present, and she recited in a way that she cannot hear herself because of that stuff that prevents her from hearing herself. It's still haram, because had that stuff not been there, she would have heard herself. That's clear? Ameen wa fikum. If chewing gum falls out of one's mouth, is it permissible to put it back in? Allahu Akbar. If there is not on that chewing gum a tangible amount of saliva, he can put it back in his mouth. Okay, let's stop the questions there. Unless, wait, one more. I think one person has a question. You said, I asked Sheikh Abdullah in the presence of Sheikh Samir, what is the judgment of an unmarried woman to color her hair? His answer was, if she does that for not cheating, it is okay. He said to me. Again, Sheikh Samir asked, his answer was okay. Okay, mashallah. Question, what was the Prophet Muhammad's view on the contributions made by other nations before and during his lifetime? I do not understand this question. As in sciences. Such as inventions. Do you have an example? I mean, as long as if it complies, the Prophet's point of view is, if it complies with the religion, it's halal. If it don't comply with the religion, it's haram. Anything that came before, if it complied with the rules that were revealed to him, if according to the rules that were revealed to the Prophet, that invention is halal, then it's halal. If that invention is haram, then it's haram. Did the Prophet allow non-believers to live in the areas of Mecca and Medina? Let me review it, inshallah. So let's stop the questions here so we can start the book, inshallah. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. If you have any more questions, save them for afterwards. Except for with this one person. I hope I'm saying your name properly. Davin? Did you have a follow-up? Okay, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yani, the Prophet came with rules. Allah revealed rules to the Prophet. So if something was made before the Prophet came, or something was done before he came, something was established before the Prophet came, and then Allah revealed rules to the Prophet, then that thing is compared to the rules of the religion. If that thing comply with the religion, then there's no problem with it. If it doesn't comply, then it's haram. Then look at the companions of the Prophet. Weren't they living before the Prophet became a prophet? So they knew things, they did things. So anything that was haram, once it was revealed to the Prophet to be haram, they stopped. Anything that was permissible, then they continued. If they wanted to. There were even things that were habits of the Arabs. Some people think that a lot of religious rules are Arab practices. No, that's not the case. That the religious rules are based on Arab culture. That's not the case. There were many things that the Arabs did when Allah revealed the rules to the Prophet. They were haram. And the Arabs had to stop doing them. So that's how it goes. Or else, they would have said, oh, but Prophet, we used to do this. Now you're saying haram. But we used to do this before you got the revelation. And then what would be the point? It's clear? You're welcome. Okay. Let's continue. Hold questions, please. Where did we stop at? It's been... I didn't leave a mark also. I need to make sure I leave marks where we stopped. Someone remind me where we got to? In the immediate knowledge. We finished that. We finished that section. Okay. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك الكريم. قال المؤلف رحمه الله فصل. The author, may Allah have mercy upon him, said, section. أقل الحيض وهو الدم النازل من فرج المرأة بغير علة يوم وليلة. The minimum of menstruation, which is the blood that exits the woman's private part without that being due to a defect, is a day and a night. أي مقدار يوم وليلة. Meaning, an amount that its sum equals a day and a night. معناه أنه قد ينقطع. This means that blood could stop. يعني ليس شرطا أن يستمر نزول هذا الدم. It is not a condition that the flow of this blood would be continuous. بل قد ينقطع ثم يبتدئ ثم ينقطع ثم يبتدئ. Rather, it might stop and then start, and then stop and then start. فإذا ساوى إذا جمعنا مدة نزول هذا الدم, if we gathered the duration of the flowing of all of that blood, فكان الحاصل من ذلك مقدار يوم وليلة, and the sum of all of that was the duration of a day and a night. نعني بذلك 24 ساعة. We mean by that 24 hours. يعني هي نزل دمها مدة ثم انقطع, meaning her blood flowed for some time, then it stopped. ثم بعد حين بدأ من جديد, then after some time it started again. ثم انقطع, then it stopped. ثم بدأ ثم انقطع, then it started, then it stopped. إذا كان مجموع هذا مقدار يوم وليلة, if the sum of all of that blood flow equaled a day and a night, 24 hours, فعندما يصل إلى هذا المقدار حكمنا على هذا الدم على هذه المدة بالحيض. Then we judged all of this time as menstruation. من أول ظهور الدم حكمنا على كله بالحيض. Then we judged all of that as menstruation. بشرط أن يكون هذا المجموع لم يتجاوز 15 يوما, as long as that blood starting and stopping, as long as that 24 hours worth of blood was contained within 15 days and did not go beyond 15 days. فيقول أقل الحيض وهو الدم النازل من فرج المرأة لغير علم يوم وليلة. The minimum of menstruation, which is the blood that flows from the woman's vagina without that being due to a defect, is a day and a night. أي مقدار يوم وليلة, meaning what equals the duration of a day and a night. وغالبه 6 أو 7 بلياليها. Its norm is 6 or 7 days. The norm of menstruation is 6 or 7 days. ولكن انتبه, however, be mindful. هذا الغالب يعني عادتها لا تعتبر في بعض الأحيان. Her norm, that woman's normal blood flow, her normal menstruation time, sometimes is not given consideration. في بعض الأحيان لا ننظر في عادتها. In some cases, we do not give any consideration to her norm. إِنَّمَا نَعْتَبِرُ الْحُكُمِ. Rather, we give consideration to this judgment. وَأَكْثَرُهُ خَمْسَةَ عَشَرَ يَوْمًا بِلَيَالِيهَا. And its extent is 15 days with their nights. 15 days and nights. فمعناه أنه لو كانت هذه المرأة عادتها مثلا 6 أيام. If this woman's norm was, for example, 6 days, فنزل الدم 9 أيام مثلا, and the blood flowed for 9 days, for example. ماذا نقول في هذا الدم الذي تجاوز عادتها؟ ماذا نقول في هذا الدم الذي تجاوز عادتها? What do we say about this blood that went beyond her norm? هكذا menses, حيض. لا نعتبر عادتها. In this case, we won't give any consideration to her norm. لا نستعجل ونقول إنها في استحاضة. We won't rush and say, oh, she's now having sickness bleeding لأنها تجاوز دمها عادتها. We won't rush and say she's now in sickness bleeding because her blood went beyond her norm. طالما لم يتجاوز 15 يوما. As long as that blood did not go beyond 15 days, لا نقول إنها في استحاضة. We won't say that she's in the state of sickness bleeding. نقول كله حيض. We say all of that blood was dam. رغم عادتها, despite her norm. وأقل الطهر بين الحيضتين 15 يوما. And the minimum purity period, non-menstruating time between 2 menstrual cycles is 15 days. فإذا انقطع دم المرأة ثم نزل من جديد قبل مضي 15 يوما. If the woman's blood stopped, her bleeding, her menstrual cycle stopped, and then started again before the passage of 15 days, وبحيث لا يعد تابعا لما قبل الانقطاع, in such a way that it is not considered to be connected to the blood before the cessation of bleeding, before the bleeding stopped, فَالدَّمُ الْجَدِيدُ لَيْسَ حَيْضًا, then this new blood is not menstruation, بَلْ اسْتِحَاضَةٌ, rather it is sickness bleeding. وَلَا حَدَّ لِأَكْثَرِهِ, and there is no maximum duration between 2 menstrual cycles, no maximum of purity. أي لا حد لأكثر الطهر بين الحيضتين, meaning there's no maximum purity period between 2 menstrual cycles. فإن المرأة قد تحيض مرة كل شهرين أو 3 أو كل سنة, because a woman might menstruate once every 2 months or every 3 months. Or she might menstruate once a year. وَقَدْ تَحِيضُ مَرَّةً فِي كُلِّ عُمُرِهَا. She might even menstruate once for a whole life. وَأَقَلُّ النِّفَاسِ وَهُوَ الدَّمُ النَّازِلُ مِنْ فَرْجِ الْمَرْأَةِ بَعْدَ الْوِلَادَةِ. And the minimum of postpartum bleeding, which is the bleeding that comes from the woman's vagina after childbirth, majjah, is a spit. A duf'atun wahidah, meaning one drop, a single moment. One drop, semicolon, a single moment. وَغَالِبُهُ أَرْبَعُونَ يَوْمًا بِلَيَالِيهَا. The maximum is 40 days and nights. وَأَكْثَرُهُ سِتُّونَ يَوْمًا. Sorry, the norm is 40 days and nights, and the maximum is 60 days. 60. فَمَا زَادَ عَلَى الستين فَهُوَ استحاضة. Whatever went beyond 60 days of postpartum bleeding is istihaba, sickness bleeding. هل من سؤال? Is there any questions? Naam. Sally, ask your question. Postpartum bleeding is the bleeding that comes from a woman's vagina after childbirth, and it may last as at minimum one drop, one spit, one moment, normally for 40 days, and at maximum 60 days. Question, is the minimum purity period between two menstrual cycles 15 days? Yes. Question, can you explain if the woman stops before 15 days in such a way that it is not connected? La. If the woman stops before 15 days, can you repeat your question? Can you reword your question? Can you say your question in different words to make sure I understand it? If the woman's menstrual cycle stops before 15 days, okay, and then starts again. طيب. You said something about being connected, but I didn't understand. Okay. No, ما فهمتي ما قلت. You didn't understand what I was saying. I was saying the minimum purity period, the minimum of purity between two menstrual cycles is 15 days. So if a woman's bleeding stopped and then new blood came back in a way that that new blood is not considered to be connected to the blood before it. Sorry, let me start over. The new blood came back before 15 days passes in a way that is not considered to be part of the blood that came before it. Then that new blood is istihaba. is sickness bleeding. For example, let's say a woman menstruated a total of 15 days. And then it stopped. And then before 15 days passed, new blood came back. Then this new blood is not menstruation. Because she just menstruated her maximum, which is 15 days. Now she needs to have her minimum purity period, which is also 15 days. But new blood came back before that 15 minimum. So this is istihaba. Fahimti? Did you understand? Ameen wa fikum. So what's the Arabic word again? The Arabic word for what? Question, is whatever lasts beyond 60 days considered sickness bleeding? Yes. Istihaba. Istihaba. Any other questions? طيب. قال المؤلف رحمه الله باب الصلاة. The author, may Allah have mercy upon him, said, chapter of prayer. فصل, section. أول وقت صلاة الظهر زوال الشمس. The beginning of the time for Zuhr prayer is the declination of the sun. أي ميلها عن وسط السماء إلى جهة المغرب. Meaning, for the sun to decline from the middle of the sky into the west. Into the west. وآخره مصير ظل كل شيء مثله غير ظل الاستواء. أي زيادة على ظل الاستواء. The end of Zuhr time is when every shadow is as long as the object casting the shadow plus the length the shadow had when the sun was at its zenith, was in the middle of the sky. أي عندما يصير طول الظل كمجموع طول ظل الشاخص. Meaning, when the length of a shadow becomes equal to the length of what casts مع طول الظل الذي كان للشاخص حين كانت الشمس في وسط السماء. In addition to the length of the object's shadow when the sun was in the middle of the sky. فإذا كان الشاخص هو الشيء الذي له ظل. So the thing that has a shadow is called in Arabic shakhis. الشاخص هو الشيء الذي له ظل. إذا كان الشاخص مثلا ذراعا. If the thing that casts a shadow, let's say, is as long as 1 cubit. وعندما كانت الشمس في وسط السماء كان ظله ذراعا. And when the sun was in the middle of the sky, the shadow of that object was also 1 cubit. فعندما يصير الظل في الطول مثل الشاخص. So when the shadow's length is as long as the object casting it, وهو في صورتنا هذه ذراع, which in this scenario of ours is 1 cubit. وزد على ذلك الظل الذي كان للشاخص عندما كانت الشمس في وسط السماء, and add to that the length that the object's shadow had when the sun was in the middle of the sky. وهو في صورتنا هذه ذراع أيضا, and in this example of ours, in this scenario of ours, that shadow was also cubit. فإذا صار الظل ذراعين خرج الظهر. When that shadow becomes 2 cubits, Dhuhr goes out. هل من سؤال? Is there any question about that? Anyone didn't understand? هذا مع الممارسة يكون سهلا. With practice, this issue is very easy. وهذا شيء جميل, علم جميل. This is beautiful knowledge. ويدخل أول وقت صلاة العصر بانتهاء وقت الظهر. The entrance of the Asr prayer, the Asr prayer's time, begins with the end of Dhuhr time. فيبدأ وقت الثانية فورا بعد انتهاء وقت الأولى. So the time of the second prayer, which is Asr, starts immediately after the time of the first prayer, which is Dhuhr. معناه أنه لا يوجد فراغ بينهما. This means there's no space, there's no gap between these two prayers. وآخره أي وقت العصر إلى اكتمال غروب قرص الشمس. The end of the time of Asr is by the complete setting of the disk of the sun. أي نزوله, يعني أي غروبه الكامل, غروب القرص الكامل, meaning the complete setting, the complete disappearance of the disk of the sun. ولا يضر بقاء شعاع. Even if there's still sun rays coming up over the horizon, this doesn't mean that Asr is still in. أي الحكم لا يتعلق بالشعاع, الحكم يتعلق بقرص الشمس. The judgment is not related to the sun rays, the judgment is related to the disk of the sun itself. فإذا غابت الشمس أي غاب قرصها. So if the sun disappeared, if the disk of the sun disappeared, يعني غربت الشمس, the sun set, it went down. ولكنه قد بقي شعاع, however there's still sun rays coming up. يطلع الشعاع من الأفق, there's still sun rays coming out of the horizon. هذا لا يؤثر ولا يضر. This doesn't affect, it doesn't matter, it doesn't change the judgment. قد دخل المغرب وخرج العصر. Maghrib came in and Asr went out. فأعيد الكتاب يقول, I'll repeat from the book, he says, وآخره أي وقت العصر إلى اكتمال غروب قرص الشمس. The end of Asr prayer is by the complete setting of the disk of the sun. وأول وقت صلاة المغرب غروب كامل الشمس. And the beginning of the Maghrib prayer is the setting of the entire sun. وآخره إلى غروب الشفق الأحمر. And its end is with the disappearance of the red twilight. وهو الحمرة التي تكون بالأفق الغربي. That is the redness that exists in the western horizon بعد غروب الشمس, after the setting of the sun. وأول وقت صلاة العشاء غروب الشفق الأحمر. And the beginning of the prayer of Isha is the disappearance of the red twilight. ولو كان لا يزال في الأفق صفرة أو بياض, even if there is still in the horizon some yellowness or whiteness. وآخره إلى طلوع الفجر الصادق. And its end is by the breaking of the true dawn. وهو بياض معترض في الأفق الشرقي, which is a white light that appears in the eastern horizon. يبدو دقيقا. It starts out thin, ثم ينتشر ويتوسع شيئا فشيئا. Then it spreads and expands little by little. وإنما قالوا الصادق لإخراج الفجر الكاذب. And they referred to the true dawn to exclude the false dawn. وهو بياض عمودي مستطيل, which is a white vertical light or vertical whiteness. يظهر ثم يختفي. It appears and then it disappears. فإن وقت الصبح لا يبدأ بظهوره. The time of dawn prayer does not start by the appearance of this. وأول وقت صلاة الصبح طلوع الفجر الصادق. And the beginning of the dawn prayer is the appearance of the true dawn. وآخره إلى طلوع أول جزء من قرص الشمس. And its end is by the appearance of the first is by the first appearance of the disk of the sun. Hal min su'al? Is there any question? Fajr comes in when there's a white light across the eastern horizon. Can you repeat the beginning and end of the dawn prayer? Fajr, dawn prayer, comes in when there's a white light across the eastern horizon, and it ends when the first piece of the sun appears. Can you repeat the beginning of Maghrib? When the disk of the sun is completely down. After false dawn, does true dawn come right after? About 20 minutes after. There is no gap between Isha and Fajr, that's right. Any other question? Yes, the end of Maghrib is when the red twilight disappears. Correct. طيب نكمل. Let's continue. قال فصل, said section. من نام عن صلاة من الفرائض الخمس أو نسيها قضاها وجوبا. Whoever slept through a prayer, whoever slept through one of the 5 obligatory prayers, or forgot it, has to make it up as an obligation. Yani it's obligatory to make it up. ولا إثم عليه, and he has no sin. لأنه لا تفريط في النوم والنسيان, because the person doesn't fall into negligence while sleeping or because of forgetting. لأنه لا تفريط في النوم والنسيان مرفوع عن الأمة. أيوة. لأنه لا تفريط في النوم, because there is no falling short while sleep. When a person's sleeping, so he didn't fall short while he's sleeping. والنسيان مرفوع عن الأمة, and the forgetfulness is pardoned for the nation. لكن انتبه, but beware here. الذي نسي لأنه كان كسولا athim. The one who forgot because he was lazy, he's sinful. ليس هذا النسيان الذي نحن نتكلم فيه. That's not the forgetfulness we're talking about. الذي مثلا كان مشغولا فنسي. ليس آثما. The one who, for example, was busy, so he forgot. He's not sinful. أما الذي كان جالسا لا يريد أن يقوم للصلاة. As for the one who's sitting down, he didn't feel like standing up to pray. ثم ذهب من ذهنه نسي. Then it went out of his mind, he forgot. فخرج وقت الصلاة. And then the time of the prayer went out. وهو ناس. And while he's forgetful, غافل, unaware. هذا آثم. This person is sinful. لأن هذا النسيان منشأه al-Khattab, because this forgetfulness here, its origin and source was laziness. يعني منشأه تقصير. Its origin is that he is falling short. قال ومن تركها بأن أخرجها عن وقتها عمدا أثم إثما كبيرا. And whoever left out the prayer by letting the time pass without praying on purpose has committed a big sin, a grave sin. وَلَزِمَهُ قَضَاؤُهَا فَوْرًا. And he's obligated to make it up immediately. فَإِنْ أَخَرَ الْقَضَاءَ أَثِمَ بِذَلِكَ أَيْضًا. And if he delays making it up, he's also sinful for that. هل من سؤال? Any question? Any question about what I said? Any question about what I mentioned here? Anything not clear? Any question? If a person is lazy, if a person forgets because he was lazy, he's sinful. Question, is there an amount of time for someone to make up their prayers? What does that mean? I don't understand your question. Like he has to make up how many days per day? That. Not like that. He has to make them all up now. So if he has many years, they're all due right now. You said if the person delays making it up, they are also sinful? Yes. Wa alaykum as-salam. So it's not a matter of that person, Yusuf, delegating certain amount to pray every day. It's all due right now. If, for example, let's say on Monday you borrowed money from me, and you told me, and we agreed that you're going to pay me back on Tuesday. Then on Tuesday, you didn't pay me back, but you borrowed more money from me. You said you're going to Pay me back on Wednesday. Then on Wednesday you borrowed more money from me. You told me you're going to pay me back on Thursday. Then on Thursday you didn't pay me back, but you borrowed more money from me. You told me I'm going to pay you back on Friday. Then Friday came. What do you owe me? For which day? On Friday. Thursday only? Did you hear my question for you? Okay, you're going to answer it, inshallah. This is a habit of mine. You cannot, no, you owe me all of them right now. That's the wrong answer. You owe all of them for me. All of them, now. On that Friday, you owe me all of those days. All of them. Because why? Because the due date passed for each one. The time for each one passed. So you owe me all of them now. This is the rule in Shafi'i school. And you want something outside of Shafi'i school, you need to find someone who can teach it to you properly. According to a Shafi'i, the one who missed his prayers without an excuse has to make them up now. And he is not to eat except so that he can stand up to pray. He eats what he needs so he can stand up to pray. He sleeps what he needs so he can stand up to pray. He runs his errands and he stands up to pray. And that's it. And he makes up all his prayers because they're due when? Now. Question, if he didn't pray because he was sleeping, he must pray when he wakes up immediately? No. He has to make it up before he dies. If he dies without making it up, then he'll have a sin written on him upon death. But it's better for him to make it up immediately. I mean, what's equal? Any other questions? قال فصل شروط الصلاة ثمانية. The author said, section, there are 8 conditions for prayer. أولها الطهارة عن الحدثين الأكبر والأصغر. The first of them is purity from the 2 states of ritual impurity. The major ritual impurity and the minor ritual impurity. وثانيها الطهارة عن النجاسة. The second is purity from physical filth. التي لا يعفى عنها. Which is the physical filth that is not excused. Purity from unexcused physical filth. في الثوب والبدن والمكان. So purity from unexcused physical filth on the clothing, the body, and place of prayer. الذي يلامسه في الصلاة دون ما يحاذيه من غير ملامسة. That is, the place that he contacts during his prayer, not filth to which he is parallel, meaning قد يكون يحاذي نجاسة. It could be that he's parallel to some filth. كالذي سجد وتحت صدره نجاسة. like the one who prostrates, but below his chest, beneath his chest, there's filth. ما مس النجاسة, he didn't touch the filth. لكن هو في جواره, but it's in his vicinity. عندما سجد صار تحته, when he prostrated, it was below him. لكنه اجتنبه, but he refrained from it. He avoided it. لا يبطل. This does not invalidate the prayer. والثالث استقبال القبلة. The third is facing the Qibla, أي الكعبة, meaning the Kaaba. وهذا له كلام طويل لا ندخل فيه. This has a lot of talk that we won't go into it unless you ask me. إلا إذا سألتم, إذا أردتم أن تسألوني في القبلة فما عندي مشكلة. لكن عندما أفتح لكم مجالا للسؤال. نعم, Sally. Yes, go ahead, ask your question. If someone slept through Fajr, then he did all his prayers for the day, and then prayed Fajr after Isha, what's the judgment? Makruh. Salawatuhu makruha. His prayers are disliked. لأنه صلى بغير ترتيب, because he prayed out of order. وعند بعض العلماء لا يصح. Some scholars said it's not valid. الأحسن أن يصلي ترتيب. The best is that he prays in order. What's not valid? Some scholars said it's not valid for him to pray those prayers out of order. لا. Okay, اتركي هذا. Don't worry about it. مكروهة. Those prayers are disliked. آمين وفيكم. ورابعها معرفة دخول الوقت. The fourth condition is knowing the entrance of the prayer time, يقينا أو ظنا باجتهاد. Either with certainty he knows the prayer time came in, or by making a valid determination he speculates that the prayer time came in. وخامسها العلم بفرضيتها. The fifth is the knowledge that the prayer itself is obligatory. أي بأنها فرض. لو صلى حديث عهد بإسلام صلاة الصبح مثلا وهو لا يعلم بأنها مفروضة لم تصح صلاته. Had a new Muslim prayed Fajr prayer, for example, but he did not know that it was obligatory, then his prayer is not valid. وسادسها ألا يعتقد فرضا من فروضها مما اتفق الشافعية على فرضيتها أي ركنا من أركانها كالفاتحة والركوع والسجود سنة. The sixth is not to believe that an obligatory part of the prayer, meaning an integral, such as the Fatiha or bowing or prostrating, is recommended, is optional. If that thing, all the Shafi'i scholars, because we're talking about the Shafi'i school here, if all the Shafi'i scholars have agreed that this part of the prayer is obligatory and then the person believes that it's optional, his prayer is invalid. وَسَابِعُهَا اجْتِنَابُ الْمُبْطِلَاتِ. The seventh is refraining from the invalidators. مُبْطِلَاتِ الصَّلَاةِ, meaning the invalidators of the prayer. وَثَامِنُهَا سَتْرُ الْعَوْرَةِ. And the eighth is covering the awrah, concealing the awrah. وَعَوْرَةُ الرَّجُلِ وَالْأَمَةِ مَا بَيْنَ السُّرَّةِ وَالرُّكْبَةِ. The awrah of a man, the unlawful nakedness of a man, and a female slave, a slave woman, is what is between the navel and the knee. مِنْ كُلِّ الْجَوَانِبِ لَا الْأَسْفَلِ. And that covering has to be from all directions, but not from underneath. معناه أنه إذا نظر إنسان إليك من الجانب أو من فوق. If a person looked at you from the side or from the top, فرأى عورتك صلاتك باطلة. He could see your awrah from the side or from the top, then your prayer is invalidated. كذا للمرأة. يعني هذا الحكم للرجل والمرأة. What I just told you now is for the man and the woman. وعورة الحرة جميع بدنها ما عدا الوجه والكفين. And the awrah of a free woman, the nakedness of a free woman, is everything other than her face and her hands. من كل الجوانب لا من الأسفل أيضا. From all directions, but not from underneath. والله أنا أحببت أن أكمل أكثر لكننا نقف هنا اليوم. I did want to do more, but let's stop here inshallah. حتى لا يغلبني التعب فأخطئ. So that I won't be overcome with drowsiness and then make a mistake. يعني أريد أن أسبقه اليوم. Today I'm going to beat the drowsiness. يعني لا أريده أن يصل أن يمسني وأنا أدرس. I don't want to catch me while I'm sleeping. بل أنا أشعر بمجيئه. In fact, it's coming. So الآن أنا أقف هنا. يوم الثلاثاء إن شاء الله سنكمل. On Tuesday إن شاء الله we'll continue. فإذا كان عندكم سؤال فليتفضل. عند أحدكم سؤال فليتفضل. If any one of you has a question, then go ahead, let him ask. آمين وفيك. when making up prayers, is one supposed to do those in order? Naam, that's what we said. That's sunnah. If he doesn't do them in order, his prayers are disliked. Is there a way to shorten missed prayers? Only if you miss them while traveling and you're still traveling. So you're traveling, and then the prayer time came in, and you could have shortened it, but you didn't. You could have prayed it, but you didn't. And you could shorten it, but you delayed it. And then while you're still a traveler, you wanted to make it up, you can shorten it because you're still a traveler. So if it was missed while traveling and the person made it up while still traveling, he never finished his travel, then yes, the make-up prayer can be shortened. Allah yarzuquka ru'yat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam fi an-nawm. It says the part where you mentioned that a person must conceal from all directions except underneath, this applies to the free woman as well. Naam, lil kull. Lil kull. Yes, for everyone. So what that mean, making up all the fajrs they have missed, or go like fajr, zuhr, asr, maghrib, isha, hakada. In order means fajr, zuhr, maghrib, asr, isha, fajr, zuhr, asr, maghrib, isha, fajr, zuhr, asr, maghrib, isha, hakada. Question, not waking up to fajr prayer is considered laziness? No, I never said that. What is the judgment of touching a marriageable woman with a barrier? Sometimes halal, sometimes haram. It depends on the touch. If one traveled, allowed to combine his prayers if he made tayammum? Well, of course, he can only make tayammum if all these conditions are satisfied. If all the conditions are satisfied, he can make tayammum, and then, yes, he can. Can he combine his prayers? He can combine his prayers, yes. Question, if the woman is wearing a dress to go out, does she have to put something underneath? Not necessarily, but when it comes time for prayer, she needs to make sure that she's covered properly. Outside of the prayer, a person needs to conceal their awrah from people. For example, here's an example. Let's say someone is taking a shower, and he's behind the shower curtain. And then someone in the family needs to use the bathroom. So they come to the bathroom while a person is in the shower, and that shower curtain is pulled. So they cannot see who's the person, they cannot see the person behind the curtain. That's not haram, because they hid their awrah is hidden. Can they pray like that? Of course not. Question, is there a faster way, first two, the person needs to pray the prayers, khalas, yani, that person missed his prayers, now he already decided he was not going to pray, he sat back and let the time pass, now he wants to make up his prayers, he wants to find a way that he needs to make up his prayers, khalas. He should have never skipped them. He knows the obligation, he learns. What are the integrals of prayer? What are the conditions? What are the invalidators? And he prays. If he wants to do the minimum obligation, he learns what's the minimum obligation for the validity of the prayer, and then he prays like that. Question, because day 2 obligatory prayer, so is that an exception? I didn't understand your question. He's saying you're asking me about the tayammum. There's a way. There's a way. Without going into the details about it, there's a way. What if the person delays Dhuhr till Asr, for example? So he may say Tayammum, prays Dhuhr, finishes, may say Tayammum, prays Asr. There's no haram. Hal min su'al? Is there any other question? If someone is praying, then during the prayer he does not remember whether he made the intention or not, what does he do? It depends. We'll come to that, inshallah. Yes, you can ask me a question out of the subject. Go ahead. Tax returns are haram, that's all I know. I don't know anything more. Give it to a poor person, and if he wants, he can give it back to you. Yes, go ahead. Allahu alam, I don't know the answer to that question. It is not permissible to stop any obligation without an excuse. That's a major sin. Not the prayer, not the fasting, not the hajj, etc. What's the first condition mentioned? What condition? Which one? The first condition of prayer? Purification from both states of ritual impurity, the major and the minor. Question, can a person live in a house or buy a house without riba? There's ways the person can arrange this contract. Riba is haram. Question, you forgot if you prayed or didn't, do you have to pray again just in case? Yeah, if a person is not sure if they prayed or not, then they have to pray. It's obligatory on them to pray. Question, so during the prayer, if someone says the salam before finished, it because he has a doubt about things that are needed for the validity of the prayer, is that okay? Stopping an obligation without an excuse is a major sin. Any other questions? آمين وفيكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khairan. See you on Tuesday, inshallah. Stay tuned for Wednesday, special class Wednesday. Allah knows that.